Hello, I'm Alisa Agnes, and I now would like to talk about genres and about my book, about the latest release about my novel. Here is the hardcover of it, and it's an English version. You can find it on my website, and and also in other places. But I like to talk about the content of it. But it's more about the genres. I mean about the young adult and about romance, but also about comedy and drama. So um, and maybe also a little bit of musical because this book is full of music. I mean, my my own lyrics and ideas for songs. I hope maybe you will hear it one day. I mean those songs with ideas that I have and which are a part of this novel. But today I'd like to talk about genres because it's so many genres this book at once, as I've already said. And you know I've started writing this book, which is based on my first uh, blog, which I was publishing blogging as just Alisa back then, 2014 and 15. And I was a teenager then. I started as a 15-year-old girl, and I've stopped blogging my first blog when I was 17, and that's when the most of this book was created and so many songs that are a part of this novel. But it's also the time, I mean 2014, when another book, Girl Online, uh, was published, and I've read this trilogy, you know what I mean, this winter, and I realized that it's so similar to my novel in so many ways, and I found it a little bit strange, and I thought that maybe uh, we found inspiration in similar places, and it's not just this one book where I find similarities to my story, which, as I've said, was published in the form of a Polish blog in 2014 and 15. But I also find something similar in movies, Fifty Shades of Grey, and it's just a similarity of some scenes, to be honest. And I wouldn't know if my dear friend didn't tell me, hey, let's watch Fifty Shades of Grey today. And it was Valentine's Day, and he has a very specific type of, um, I don't know, humor. and um, and yes, I've watched this film, and I've realized that, as I've said, it's also a little bit similar to my book, and that's why I want to talk about genres, because I've wrote this book. The first version was when I was very young, and I'm thinking that young adult and romance, these two, or maybe also comedy and drama, all these genres are popular or are very old, and some themes I think are universal, and that's why sometimes we have similar ideas, but it doesn't mean that it was, plagiarism, because, as I've said, I've never watched or read books which are similar, and the fact that I was publishing it on my blog many years ago, and when I was so young, and it was a Polish blog, So we can't say if you know, if somebody could get inspired by my story, my Polish story. You know, it's possible that somebody could um, translate by Google Translate the content of my story and get inspired this way, but we don't know such things. So we can always say that it's plagiarism or something, because as I said, some genres are so universal and so popular right now that no such things will be just happening, and I don't know, we probably can do anything about this, and we can only try to write um, things which I hope will be always original and true to our vision, and I hope we can all find the inspiration and write just what we want to and how we want to. And the fact that I wrote this book in a new version and that it's, let's say, clear. I mean, the language is clear. That's only my idea, and I just don't like anything that is um, vulgar or I don't know, too bloody. So that's just my style, and I don't say that can be somewhere else that other writers can write this way, because that's just the part of the modern world, and I just want to write what I want to. And well, this video is just to tell you that sometimes some themes are very popular and very deep in our brains, in our um, bones, and sometimes we just have similar ideas and we can't do anything about this. But well, I hope you can check this out. My very first novel, and uh, there will be two more in the nearest future. In the nearest future means next year and in 2 years. But I also have so many other ideas for short stories, for poetry, so I read everything, even dramas. So yeah, so this is all I wanted to say today, and I hope you like this video. You can like, subscribe, comment, and hope you like this video. So that's the last video this month in July. Okay, so okay, bye.